SashMash!
So you've probably already noticed a small detail about the main characters of Hunter x Hunter. Their birthdays follow a peculiar pattern, wherein the month and day numbers are identical. Essentially, Leorio's is on March 3rd, Kurapika's is on April 4th, Gon's is May 5th, Hisoka's is June 6th, and finally Killua's is July 7th. This pattern is no mere coincidence, and neither is the reason each character was assigned their specific date. Most substantial is Killua's July 7th, which falls on the date of Japan's Star Festival, Tanabata. So grab your plushies and settle down under your officially licensed Hunter x Hunter blanket as we go through the romantic tale behind Tanabata and how it relates to Killua's story. Let's set the scene.
Amidst the dreamy heavens filled with countless shimmering stars lived a beautiful princess weaving beautiful bolts of cloth. Orihime was a skilled seamstress, and her father, the Sky King Tinte, wore her creations with pride. She worked tirelessly at her craft, so much so in fact that Orihime began losing hope of ever finding love. Orihime and Tinte lived along the banks of the Heavenly River, and across it there lived Hikoboshi, a cowherder. Out of concern for his daughter, the Sky King arranged for her to meet Hikoboshi, and they promptly fell in love and got married. They were so in love that they both began to neglect their prior duties. Orihime no longer wove, and Hikoboshi no longer tended to his cows. Angered, Tinte forbade the couple to be together any longer and split them across the river. This caused Orihime immense heartbreak, and she pleaded and pleaded with her father until he allowed her to meet Hikoboshi again. However, there were conditions to this meeting. They could only meet on the 7th day of the 7th month of each year. Pretty stingy, but better than nothing. At last, the most anticipated day arrived, and Orihime rushed to the banks. And there were no means with which to cross the river. Orihime burst into tears, heartbroken once again. The lovers were doomed to never meet, or so it seemed. Hearing her despair, a flock of magpies came to Orihime's aid and created a bridge, thus allowing the lovers to reunite. And so, it's said that the lovers continue to meet each year as long as the skies are clear.
Quite the tale, huh? Now replace the Sky King Tinte with Silver, Princess Orihime with Killua, and the cowherder Hikoboshi with Gon. Yeah, they fit pretty well, don't they? Let's break down the parallels in detail. First, there's a princess who's skilled at her work but is ultimately unhappy with the loneliness it brings. Killua comes from an esteemed and revered lineage, raised to be an assassin and future head of the family. Yet for all his talent in that profession, he is ultimately left unfulfilled and in search of another purpose in life. In fact, he even states he'd be more than happy to turn his family in for bounty money. That's just how much he resents his circumstances. Furthermore, Killua's work and home life left him isolated and lonely, despite his great number of siblings. He wasn't even allowed to be friends with Canary due to their master-servant relationship. In other words, Killua's work left him with little opportunity to connect with others outside his family, much like Orihime.
That is, until he met Gon. In just a matter of moments after they caught sight of each other in the exam, Killua and Gon became friends, if for the simple fact that they're both the same age, and Gon finds Killua's skateboarding pretty cool. Throughout the exam arc, we see just how quickly and deeply their bond strengthens. While there is an element of competition between the two boys at first, by the final test, their worry and care for each other quickly becomes apparent. Killua and Gon's immediate and strong connection harkens to that of Orihime and Hikoboshi's.
And they were torn apart just like them too. In the final part of the Hunter exam, Illumi is revealed and Killua's confrontation with him unfolds. After a round of psychological manipulation, aided by the use of Nen, Killua yields and ends up disqualifying himself out of the exam. He was told to return to the Zoldyck estate and resume his old life, and Killua solemnly complied. A while later, we get to listen in on Silver's awkward father-son talk with Killua, which culminates in Killua being allowed to leave home once more and meet up with Gon. And of course, Silver did not permit this without a limitation. He made Killua promise to never betray his friends. The ramifications of this promise don't come to a head until 70 episodes later, where Killua's self-preservation instincts instilled upon him by Nen Needle mean that he's at real risk of abandoning Gon. This was quite a sinister move by Silver. He knew about the needle and so made Killua agree to an impossible promise, confident that when his promise would inevitably be broken, Killua would break too, and thus return and stay as a Zoldyck assassin for good.
The Sky King Tinte also set an impossible condition for Orihime. Though the lovers had permission to meet, there was no way for them to physically reunite. The river could not be crossed. However, as we previously learned, all hope was not lost. The lovers could meet with the help of a flock of magpies. This is also paralleled in the Zoldyck and election arcs of Hunter x Hunter. In this case, the magpies are the Zoldyck butlers. Not only do their black and white uniforms look like the coat of feathers magpies wear, but one of the butlers, Canary, is also named after a bird. Though the butlers can't explicitly go against orders from Zoldyck family elders, they do what they can to help reunite the two boys.
First, they train Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio so that they can officially enter the estate through the testing gates. Then, Canary is so touched by Gon's relentless advances that she leads the gang to the butler's quarters, where they anxiously await Killua's arrival. Goto is also fond of Killua, giving him subtle hints and even fighting for Killua's sake during the election arc, with Canary further lending a hand by distracting Amane at the airport.
The legend concludes in saying that Orihime and Hikoboshi will continue to meet as long as the skies are clear, and as such, we are certain that Gon and Killua will also reunite, perhaps under the starry skies they once gazed upon at Whale Island. We hope you learned something new, and if you did, subscribe, because there's gonna be way more where this came from. So until next time, SashMash out.